Hi, welcome to another episode of the Paige Doodle Club. Today we will be drawing a cartoon detective that's hot on the trail of something, and you get to decide what it is that he's investigating. So grab your drawing supplies, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and let's get right to it. To start our detective, I'm going to make an eyebrow, about like that. So this is a line, a vertical line, a diagonal line, and another nearly vertical line. Then underneath that, I'm going to make a small line coming down, and then a line coming over and down, and then curving back up to meet up with that brow line. And then I'm going to put an eye, a pupil inside of the eye. And then as we fill in the pupil, I'm going to leave a small circle of white for the reflection. Next, I'm going to give a curved nose that's going to be kind of like a letter C that's fallen over, kind of like that. And next to the nose, I'm going to put a large circle. This is going to be a magnifying glass. And then once you've got your circle, you'll fill in around that, make it a little bit wider. Kind of like that. And then we'll make this a gigantic eyeball because it's behind the magnifying glass. So when schools are open, I work with kids aged 4 to 7. And one of my favorite things of the year is when they discover magnifying glasses, because kids using magnifying glasses are always totally in awe of how it works. But it's always really funny because kids will always hold them right up to their eye. And this is usually what it looks like, kind of like that. One gigantic eyeball looking at you and one normal eyeball. Next, I'm going to give a very squared off jaw coming down from that. So I'm going to start with 2 lines coming pretty much straight down, and then we'll just gently round it off and then go straight across. And since he's a very serious detective, I'm going to make a flat line for the mouth with tiny angles down on either end. And maybe we'll give him a cleft chin. Seems like a trademark of a detective, though I'm not sure why. It just seems to be one of those cliches that exists. And our detective is going to want an ear, so I'm going to make a backwards letter C. And then right here I'm going to kick the pen out like that and make a little squiggle here. And then we can do a little bit of shading if you want. Now, every good film noir detective is going to have a fedora. So for the brim of the fedora, it's just a gently curving line coming across, so it's not quite flat. And I'm not going to bring it behind this magnifying glass because the magnifying glass is showing us the eyeball so big. So here is our brim of the fedora, and then we'll cut that in pretty sharp. Cut it in pretty sharp over here. And I'll make a slight top brim there. So this here, it almost looks like an arrow pointing to the right. just barely you can see that brim. And then we're going to want lines coming up and in, kind of like that. And then a very smushed letter U in the middle, rounding back down to the edges of the hat. So here's our letter U. And then coming down, it's kind of like a really poorly drawn letter M. So you go up, you come down, back up, back down. Everything's very rounded off. And then you'll make the edge of the brim here, and you can make a band going around the fedora. And next we'll make the lines coming out of the magnifying glass for the handle. And his hand is going to be holding it, so we're going to need a few fingers here. This is kind of like a sideways letter U or a backwards letter C. And give him a couple of those. And the back of the hand will be a little bit bumpy because of knuckles. And we'll give a thumb sticking over here. I'm only going to give him a total of 4 fingers rather than 5 because it's a cartoon. And then he's going to need a sleeve. Detectives in cartoons always seem to be wearing trench coats. I think it's to make them look less suspicious, but if anything, it makes them look more suspicious because as soon as you see it, you know, oh, he's a detective or he's a spy. So for the elbow here, this is going to be kind of a letter U that's going to almost come back up to the cuff there. And on this side, I'm going to come just off of it so they don't quite meet. And underneath the center of the chin, I'm going to make a tall letter V that's very skinny. And coming out from his ear, I'm going to make the collar of his jacket. We'll make it sticking way out. And from this V, I'm going to come over here and cut back in, and then cut over to the curve of that collar. And then we'll do the same thing over here. We'll go out, kick it in, kick it out again, and then meet up behind his head. So there's his trench coat. And detectives are always dressed to the nines in old movies, so we're going to give him a dress shirt collar like this. And for a necktie, it's kind of a rounded letter V. And then just kick your pen out to meet up with the jacket like that. You can shade that in if you want. Just separate it a little bit from the rest of the jacket. All right, next for his shoulder, I'm going to come across like this and then go straight down and straight down again. This is the sleeve, and we'll make a cuff, which is basically sort of a rounded off rectangle. And we'll have the jacket taper in slightly as it comes down. So it's getting a little bit skinnier as it comes down, and then we'll make the waist belt going across. And I should have made belt loops there. And now we'll have the loop of the belt flopped over there. and maybe give some buttons on the jacket. And we'll just make this hand kind of clenched in a fist like this. So to do that, it's a line down and a few curving lines, and then kind of a letter C to make the thumb on the fist there. And we can imply some legs sticking out of there if you want for the pants. And there's your detective. You can make him cracking whatever case you would like. Oh, I forgot the bottom part of the handle down here. Can't forget that. And I hope your detective solves his case. Don't let the bad guys get away. All right, so here is our finished detective. I hope you had a great time following along, and I hope you've figured out what he's investigating and hopefully helped him solve the case. Thanks for watching. I hope you had a great time, and tune in next time for another episode of the Mike Paige Doodle Club.
All right, kids, now that you've finished your doodles, color them in and then share them with both Mike Paige and Medfield TV. We're going to take those images and we're going to put them all over our station. Can't wait to see what you guys make.